All right, folks, we're over here trying to check out what's going on in the world and all of that. So, if y'all hold on one second, I'll try to get rid of that overlay. Hey, there we go. Hope everybody's doing well. We're getting ready to start this show, see what's happening in the world, see if any guests pop in and what they've got going on in their world. Because we're always glad to have guests coming in here on the radio show with Mark Lee, and we're going to see what they might be talking about if any of them show up. And of course, we do know that some of the platforms have been having issues, including StreamYard and a number of others as well. So we're going to see how things flow and what's going on in the world, and definitely have a conversation with y'all. If y'all have any thoughts, or if y'all want to join the conversation or even pop in, we're always glad to have guests that want to share their thoughts about things that are going on in their world and all of that. So definitely great things going on. As a matter of fact, I see that my good friend Brett Chambers is celebrating a major event. That's right, 25 years of doing an open mic. That is truly amazing. And I can say that I was at quite a few of those. I won't say all of them because definitely there were times that I would disappear and vanish, but there were times that I used to be there regularly. So definitely some amazing things happening in that regards, and definitely glad that that is going on well as well. So definitely I saw that he had posted about celebrating for 25 years, and to do it in an event, whether it's a festival, whether it's an open mic, whether it's anything for 25 years, you should certainly be commended for that. And there is no doubt about that whatsoever. Great conversation and some amazing things that are going on in that regard. So definitely glad to see that people are noticing that and checking that out. And hopefully there will be some people doing some honors and maybe even some recognitions. I think that some of our publications ought to give him some awards for pulling this event off and for having that kind of fortitude to do it and all of that. I know that it started off over there. I want to say at the Talk of the Town. That was one of the first locations, and of course, it's been at the BU. It's been at where it's at currently over there at a certain kind of cafe and everything. So it has been at a variety of locations. I think it was even at Yancey's at one point or another. So definitely, it has gone around and had some various locations as well, but pretty much in the Durham area. Even though I do know that there was a while that it was in Raleigh as well. So the Durham Raleigh Triangle area, and definitely I'm gonna have to ask Brett about that. How many venues it has been located at, but I know that it has been a number of them, including the Blue Note Grill, which is where it is currently based, and all of that. So definitely, very interesting thing going on. And by the way, it looks like some major things are down today, and that is why things are very interesting today because Facebook has said sorry to users for a global outage that is affecting Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, with all three sites down as of 12 p.m. And I can tell you right now that they are still down. They are owned by Facebook and run on a shared infrastructure. Andy Stone from Facebook's communications department said, "We're working to get things back to normal as quickly as possible, and we apologize for any inconvenience." Other Facebook owned messenger sites, including Facebook Workplace, also recorded outages. So, that's one of the things when you are so dependent on these kind of things, and when they have these major outages, that can be a major thing that is very impactful to a lot of things in that words. So definitely, as Sally Smith, a marketing and advertising expert, was saying, have you been struggling with getting your latest Insta post out for the day? Don't worry. Apparently, Facebook went down shortly after 5 p.m. today. And that, I believe, was earlier. And this is the umbrella company for Instagram and WhatsApp, and it's definitely impacting people of around the world, and definitely is impacting a lot of folks. Matter of fact, this lady Sally Smith was saying, "My tip for you now is to take these 5 minutes and think about what you were going to post or what you were going to send, and ask yourself, what is the purpose? If you're posting on social media, are you talking about a pain point for your customer? Will your post educate or add value to them? However, you're sending a WhatsApp. If for work purposes, I question if this is the best form of communication. Would picking the phone up and having an actual conversation be stronger?" And they were saying that they were writing this while looking out the window and looking at some torrential rain. So they were also suggesting that we all look for a rainbow in these kind of situations. So it looks like that is what is going on is that there is a major app outage, and that is impacting a lot of folks which are using these outlets on a regular basis in order to get their message out, whether it's a message of politics or whether it's a message just of greetings or whether it's just having a little bit of fun, as we know folks like to do on those platforms as well. So that is some of the things that are going on. And it'll be interesting to see how this impacts a number of things. I know that we put a lot of our messaging out on the Facebook as well. So this might even be slowing down the network also in that regard. So definitely that is some news that I'm sure a lot of people will be paying close attention to and trying to figure out how to cope with it, since we've got so used to doing social media in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see what folks' thoughts are and how we bounce back from this outage that has impacted us all. So that is one of the things that is going on. And by the way, Alex Chambers was saying that he is tuning in from Colorado. So Alex was on earlier, and glad to see Alex back listening from Colorado. And definitely always great to seeing folks checking out. I wonder if they're having that outage in Colorado as well. As a matter of fact, I think I just had another brilliant idea. So I'm going to put that brilliant idea out into the comment sphere and everything. And y'all can either jump on it or not jump on it, as the case may be. But definitely that is what is going on. As a matter of fact, even if you go to the StreamYard site, they say that there is a network error that is affecting many websites, including Facebook. This is causing an issue receiving comments and going live to Facebook destinations. And they did let us know, those of us that have StreamYard accounts, that they are investigating. But it looks like what's going on is that Facebook has run into some errors in that regards and in that sense. So we'll find out what happens and what people's response to this is and how it plays out in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'll be interested to hear what folks' thoughts are in that regard. By the way, whether it's Alex or whether it's others, I'm going to put out on here our StreamYard link, the way that you can enter into the studio, enter into the green room as it may be, and come on to the show and say some of the things that are on your mind. So if you want to come on and join, just kind of like click onto that link and join the conversation. Always looking forward to having conversations with people and seeing what's going on in their world as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, that is the link. Would love to have you come on, share your wisdom, share what you got going on, and everything along those lines. As a matter of fact, I think that I might have a musician or two coming on, so I'm waiting to find out when they will be getting here into this platform and what some of their thoughts are just in general. Always great to have great conversations going on, and of course to have people joining into these conversations. Like I said, I'm hoping that Johnny White might even appear as well and share a little bit of what he's got going on. I know he's got a new release out that I am a fan of, and definitely it is some great music, and I'm hoping that he'll come on. Maybe we'll talk about his music and also be able to hear a little bit of what he's got happening in his world. So that is always some amazing things that are happening in this world and with us in general. Going to come back with some more news out of the LinkedIn network and LinkedIn thoughts and everything along those lines. But in the meantime, I'm going to let y'all check out about a great international speaker that has been in the area and has done some amazing things. So I'm going to let you check out a little bit about what they're all about, and also a great speaker that has a show here on the network that comes on Tuesday. So that is the amazing Barbara Smith. So I'm going to let you check out what Barbara Smith has got going on. And I'm also reach out to Johnny and a couple of other folks. But check out a little bit of this right now.
Are you ready?
My coach, Barbara H. Smith. Why did I hire her? Because she's the best.
Barbara H. Smith is a powerhouse. She just walks in the room and grabs your attention, and she does that in a way that just makes you feel loved and like she's paying attention to you. She cares about you, and she wants to see you be your best self.
She was able to dig inside and find the passion that was deep within me.
Barbara's energy is one of the reasons that I had to have her as my coach. I love the way she is real with people.
The reason I felt like I needed a coach was because I have some big goals and I needed to build my confidence. I knew that Barbara could help me do that.
I felt that I could trust her.
I would definitely recommend to get coaching from Barbara H. Smith if you feel like you need to level up your confidence. She would just help you feel like bold, like you can take on the world.
She has really shown me who I am. She has changed my mindset to a place that I know that I am more powerful today than I would have ever been if I had never met Barbara Smith.
Like I was saying, Barbara Smith, truly an amazing person, truly a great person. Looking forward to seeing who her guests are on tomorrow and finding out what they're going to be talking about. Just like I'm anxious to find out who Maxine Phillips McCoy has on this particular afternoon and evening as well, because it's always great to hear these amazing conversations and how things are going in that regards. I'm going to bring you up some information on another powerful person in that space of being an international speaker and all of that. And actually, I think this may be the person that is helping Barbara get over there to Kenya, because I know she's got a Kenyan trip coming up very shortly. So let's check out what Dr. Ruben West is all about as well. And then immediately after that, I'm going to bring up another good friend, and we're just going to chat it up because it's good to have Alex here with us. But let's learn a little bit about Dr. Ruben West and what's happening in that regards.
I love to introduce somebody really awesome. He is a master of training other speaker, and he is a great speaker because I saw him speaking, and he hardcore. He looks like athlete. He looks like a fighter. But when he starts speaking, he speaks with a real warm heart and really touch people's heart and really fascinate people.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes. They're not fond of rules and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them or disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the one thing you cannot do is ignore them. Because they change things, they push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do.
Ruben West communicates by connecting with his audience when he presents and when he's sharing a key message. Being able to connect and communicate your instructions clearly is a masterful skill.
The ultimate professional. Ruben is a guy that not only teaches a message, but also demonstrates the message. He's helped me to craft my art, and I'm sure he'll help you to craft yours.
Very accomplished international speaker, being able to just connect to any audience, no matter where they come from or what kind of people they are. He helps you and serves you in every kind of way to elevate you as a speaker, and I highly recommend him.
He is a people's heart connecting scientist with a using instrument of your voice and your appearance and your heart, touching people's heart.
His communication is unmatched. I'm Australian, he's American, and it really makes no difference as to our culture and where we have come from, because his message, the way he communicates it, is from humanity.
Find a way to take the next step. Thank you.
All right, we're back. And like I said, I've got my new and great friend, Alex, joining us as well. So how are you doing, Alex? Glad to see you over here. Change that little backdrop because that's actually another show that we've got airing on Wednesday and everything. So I need to change that really quickly. But other than that, how are you doing? and how is life treating you? Because it's an amazing world today. Apparently, Facebook and Instagram and everybody else have collapsed, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on because they're looking on. You click on Facebook and you get absolutely nothing. So they've even I think it says the web is down, the web is broken, or something like that. So apparently the web has gone down, and you can't even find Facebook. But you've got like some cool artwork and everything. So I'm even seeing there's some artwork behind you. Looks like a couple of birds and some other things happening over there. So is that artwork of your own, or is that artwork that your daughter did? Because she is the master artist of the family.
Oh no, this is something we had gotten. I don't even know how long, a couple years ago. But I love birds. I'll tell you a story before that. I wanted to show you something. When I'm an orphan, and my dad passed away when I was 1. My mom passed away when I was 16, and my mom's really good friend was a psychiatric nurse, and she actually now is a medium. Well, she talks with animals actually, and she had helped when my daughter was born. One of our dogs was barking nonstop for 15 hours, and for the first, I think it was about almost 2 weeks, I slept out on the couch with the dog because he wouldn't stop whining and barking. And I called my mom's friend. Her name is Monica Strong, and I sent her a picture of him, and she connected with him and talked with him and told him to take the lead from my other dog, who was being very good at the time. And during the daytime, we were bringing this dog to my daughter's grandma's house because just to get him away from us so we could have some peace and quiet and some time with our daughter. And literally the next day after she had connected with him, he came back and he was totally fine. It was one of those things, like my daughter's mom doesn't really necessarily believe in that type of thing, but she still to this day is like, well, I can't say it didn't work because it was like a total flip. So just something interesting.
That's very interesting. But I'm just still getting over the idea of Alex being in the literal doghouse, because it sounds like you were literally in the doghouse having to stay with the dog. You'll get a kick out of this, and this is my grandmother and a granddad, but more particularly, I think it was my grandmother. There used to be like this little wooden dog, like little statue that was over there in the kitchen area. It may even still be somewhere laying around the house. But myself and the rest of my cousins, there's about 11 of us. If you did something wrong, the dog emblem that had your name on it, so it was a little dog that had your name on it, would go in the doghouse. So that was her way of letting folks know and publicly shaming you as to whether you were bad or not. I think you could get like up to 2 or 3. I don't think you could get the entire army of the cousins if there were 11. If there are 11 of us that exist and everything in that house and everything. But I do know that there were times I might have gotten in there once or twice. My brother maybe more than that, but definitely if you were being a little bit on the bad side, yes, you might find yourself in the doghouse. And it was and people would know that because that would be their name, your name right there in the doghouse. So that public shaming going on.
That's funny. Oh wow, that is funny. But yeah, what I was gonna say about the birds is my mom's friend Monica, who is a psychiatric nurse and then now does the dog, I don't know what to call it, connecting. She had told me when my mom passed away to pick a symbol for my mother. And anytime I saw that symbol, I would know she was with me. And what I picked for my mom was birds, because when she was kind of bedridden for the last year or so of her life, we had a bunch of bird feeders outside of her window, and she just loved the birds. And so this picture reminds me of her, and it's always got the birds kind of over my shoulders. So yeah, that's kind of a good thing. And yeah, there's numerous times, I won't get into all the stories, but numerous times where I was in some predicaments, and I would see a bird or an eagle or something flying near me, and it always reminded me that my mom was with me. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think we all have totem animals. My dad and I don't even know when or how he decided that he was a big fan of these, but he is a big fan of turtles, has several turtles in his collection. Used to at one point have a turtle with the most unusual name, and it was actually a one of those large land tortoises, and it actually, when it was living, lived outside in the backyard in a doghouse, and it was actually the name of the turtle was Buttercup. So Buttercup would live back there in that area, and then he's also had sand turtles and boxers and other kinds of turtles as well. So, like I said, I think we all have a that kind of like animal that resonates with us for whatever reasons. I know that I have jokingly said to several of my friends that I want to get a pet otter because I think that otters are really cool, and I also love and have always loved cats. So maybe I'll get a cat and an otter together, since right now I have no pets whatsoever. But they also take a lot of attention, almost like that daughter of yours and everything. That I don't have any fish and or plants, because they say that those are supposed to be less attention driven in the sense of what you need. But with my luck, I would forget to feed the fish, and we know that means the fish is going to go off to the great fish heaven. So that's not going to work. And the plant would probably be yelling at me, going like, Mark, are you going to give me some water? Are you going to give me some seeds? Or are you just going to like sit there and have that nice big juicy cheeseburger, knowing that I don't eat that, but you need to feed me something and everything? So they would probably get mad at me, and that's not going to be a pleasant idea either in that regards.
Yeah. You know what I got in the mail just the other day? I got my book from.
You got your book?
Yeah, well, not my book, but
right.
Addie Banks's book cool. That I got after the show with her, and I've just been getting into it. I'm only about, I don't know, maybe 20% of the way in, but it's really enlightening book. It's been interesting. I stayed up way too late last night reading it, but I couldn't put it down, and then I couldn't get to sleep after, because I was just thinking about how relevant it is, and what a great book. So
it's so relevant, the ways that she gives those history lessons and tells a lot of those history things. I've actually added her to my influencer list, because as I was telling Brian, and I've got Brian's book on there too, Amazon has made me an influencer, or somehow given me that title. I think that's the first step to getting an Amazon live stream, but I still am trying to figure out exactly all of the embedding codes and all the things that go with that. And I can sometimes be a quick learner, and sometimes I can slow roll it. So this particular case, I think that I'm slow rolling it, but I will eventually figure it out, and hopefully figure out a way to make some money out of it. But you were talking about things that are addictive. I've been having conversations with friends of mine, because ever since they made it available to Android, I've become a fan of Clubhouse. And I go in there, and I was in the Field of Dream room yesterday, which was creative people talking about creative things and supporting each other in that creative space. I think the Sandman finally hit me, I think at about somewhere around 3 or 4 o'clock, because I was in that room for much too long. And that's not the first time and the only room I've been in that room too long. I've been in Bella Gutman's room, which is also kind of an entrepreneurial support system kind of room. The other one, Field of Dreams, is more the creative community, whereas Annabella might be a little bit of all types of people. And she is a former, I think, Miss Israel or something like that. So she's former pageant winner, and she's very much involved in that space even now, even though I want to say that she's probably in her, if I was to guess age, somewhere around that 50 or maybe even older age range and everything. But I'm horrible at guessing women's ages, but she's definitely a great influencer in her own right. But I'm sitting there going like, whether it's that, and there's these other kind of rooms that are engagement rooms, so they try to get you to build, speaking of Instagram, your Instagram following and some of your other following. And then there are rooms that have some very saucy conversations, because I know that Lori Bellotti does one called Sex in the City, not the TV show or that, but it is a Clubhouse room, and they will ask you all kinds of questions, and some of those questions can get quite saucy, and you're sitting there going like, I don't know that I need to know that about animals or about feathers, and speaking of birds and other things, but it can get a little bit all out there, and sometimes you're going like, the time just flies by, and it is engaging, and it is a global community, so you're sitting there going like, okay, I'll just pop in for a minute, and then I'll pop out. And it probably doesn't help that I started my own club, well, my own, what do they call it? It's a room and a club. The room is in the club. So I started my own club called the Cultural Renaissance Room, trying to get Brian, and maybe I'll get you to join as well. But I'm doing 3 rooms right now. On Thursdays, we're doing a blues room, which means I'm just playing blues music that I've got in my personal collection and or that I find, and we're doing that on Thursdays and that's between 9 and midnight. On Friday between 10 and 1 in the morning, my time, Eastern Standard Time, we're doing world music, or actually just music of the world. So like this past week, I did some reggae, did some Latin music, did some music from India, I believe, and definitely from some of the African continents, and just kind of like rocked it and some Native American sounds. And then I might throw in some of the more classic American music like R&B and things of that nature from back in the 70s, or maybe even more current. And then the Sunday room, it started off as a reading room where I might just read a book or whatever, but now it's just general kickback discussion about the elements of any Renaissance or any cultural discussion, which of course can be food, fashion, music, literature, whatever. And we just sit back and kick it and let the conversation go wherever the conversation may go. As a matter of fact, there was a young lady that was originally from Rwanda. So she was sharing some of Rwanda's negative history, but also how it is truly done what Biden says he wants to do with us. And apparently it has really built back better because they are one of the top economies in Africa. And I didn't know that till talking to Miss Eunice, and she was sharing how they had bounced back. And part of it was that they didn't get the support they wanted from the world community. So they figured, hey, if the world isn't coming to our rescue, we'll rescue ourselves. So that was a real positive message that she put out. And Princess is originally from Ghana, and she is now a nurse in London. So she popped in, and Allison, who is a fashion stylist, I always want to call her a fashion designer, but she always makes sure that I also add stylist in there as well, because apparently there's a difference. And those in the fashion industry will have to tell me what the exact difference is and everything. But she popped in that room. And then Stacy, who's a good friend of mine out of the Sacramento area of California, popped in. And then there might have been Jeremy, who is a Canadian. He's in Canada, but he's originally, or his family is Filipino, and I think that he's suffering from some sort of physical ailment as well, because he's definitely part of the community that some people want to call disabled. Some people like to use that word handicapped, and I just think that we all have a disability of one sort or another, and don't necessarily like those titles that we throw on things in that regard. So he pops in, and don't think that he joined any of the conversation, but he was listening, and he did come up onto the stage. And then there was D, who I never did figure out who D was, because D never talked or anything of that nature, just saw their symbol and everything. And then there was trying to think, Michael, who is a chef in the Toronto area of Canada, actually working for a major U.S. chain, because he's working for Red Lobster and all of that. But we just sat back, kicked it, and talked about whatever was on people's minds, kind of like what we do here on the radio show. So it's a fun thing that I do every Sunday as well. So one of the things I was just curious about, is I just gave that whole ramble about what was happening in Clubhouse, is how is Colorado doing, and how are you doing in your job hunt, and where is that precarious daughter of yours? Because every time she's on Brian's show, I'm like, this woman has way too much energy, and I still am convinced that she's not really 4 like you say she is. I think she's actually got the personality of a 34-year-old. So that she is not really 4.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm gonna need to. I have not even joined Clubhouse, so I'm gonna have to do that here. But yeah, my daughter is with her mom right now. I'm actually gonna have to. I'll probably have to leave here in a few minutes because I got to go pick her up. But yeah, so Colorado's going well. We're fine. We're getting into fall. Finally, it's not 90 degrees out all day long. It's that time of year where we got to turn the heat on at night and then the cold air on during the daytime, because otherwise you're freezing in the middle. I'd rather be cold in the middle of the night, but otherwise you're freezing in the middle of the night, and you're way too hot during the daytime. So getting into fall, the leaves are starting to change colors, and got to go out to the park yesterday with my daughter, and she got to play with some friends. I mean, she didn't know them before she got there, but they became her friends when we got there. And yeah, so it's been good. As far as the job search goes, I have a couple interviews coming up on Wednesday. I've been talking to some different coaches and trying to get some advice and help for that. And so things are trending in the right direction, and hopefully, I can land something here soon that I enjoy. And this last year, I've been working in a job that I just dreaded, and part of that was ownership, and part of that was just not the industry I was looking to be in. But so yeah, things are trending in the right direction, definitely.
That's really good. How do you deal with, and we kind of alluded to it when you were here with Miss Addie and everything, but how do you deal with it when you're in a job that you don't necessarily like? Because I know I've been in that situation, and sometimes I'll find allies, and of course we might just hang out together because maybe we don't like the nature of the job, or maybe we're not even fans of what the job is about. I can say that even to some degree about an education company that I'm part of. Like I said, I am not a over big fan of standardized testing, but I also sometimes have to collect a check in order to pay the bill. So I will go to work for them, even though I'm not the biggest fan of what they are about. But I was just wondering, when you're in those negative jobs, as you were in the past, and like I said, I've already put it out in the universe that the next job is going to be a great job that you're going to thoroughly enjoy. You're going to like the mission and the whole 9 yards. But when you're in those negative spaces, how do you get past that? And how do you, what coping tools do you use?
Yeah, I think the most valuable is staying in the moment and being in the now, and working on things that I can control at that point in time, which is the actual work that I'm doing. And that's what helps me the most, because I take a lot of pride in the work that I do. And if I let those negative things impact the work itself, then it just spirals downhill. So I just try to stay in the moment and continue with that work that I'm doing, and not necessarily. I'm always thinking about ways things can improve. So when there's things that aren't very done very well, and that sort of thing, it usually is on my mind. But yeah, I definitely try to stay away from that when I'm doing the work itself. So most of the time, people don't realize that I'm frustrated in a job, especially my clients and customers. I always, I love that interaction either way. Right. So yeah, that's what I do. Is really just staying in the moment and trying to control the things I can control in that moment, which is generally just going to be the work that I'm doing. So.
And I imagine that you bring some of that funness that you bring in the raising of your daughter, that you share the duties with her mom and everything. But whenever I see you on Brian's show, you definitely have that fun, carefree kind of attitude, which I think is probably even what you bring into the work environment as well. Because I can't see you having an appointment with a client and then being bored. I'm just not seeing that from Alex. I'm not picking up that energy. So I don't think that they would find any boredom whatsoever, because I think that you're going to engage them and find a way to meet them where they are. Like if they're a fan of the Denver Nuggets, you might be talking about the Nuggets basketball team, which has had a tremendous amount of success, and the same with y'all's football team. So you probably find that common ground, whatever that common ground is, when you're talking to your clients.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love people, so I love learning about people, and people love talking about themselves, and so yeah, I've always really taken that position of really listening to them and what they're doing and how their business is operating and offering. And when I was in sales, a lot of times the conversation might not necessarily be about sales. If they're talking about something that they're trying to do within their organization, I was all ears, because I love learning about how people are operating businesses, what they're trying to do as far as, increase growth, or, Fort Collins, where I live now, is it's kind of a smaller community. A lot of the business owners have been here for 30, 40 years. So sometimes they're okay kind of where they're at. And sometimes they're a little bit reluctant, I guess, for change, but that's okay too, and I really just enjoy that people interaction. That was what, really brought me to study psychology and social psychology, and focus on, motivation and growth mindset, is because I just enjoy people, and I want people to do the best they can and learn as well. And So I never get bored when I'm learning about someone. Sometimes I think my life has been boring, but lots of times I still love hearing about those things, even if it's a industry that I'm not necessarily interested in on my own. It's kind of like I'm not a huge news watcher, but
Right.
if I turn the news on, I will watch it until it's over. I just get sucked in, and I always I don't know, I can't help it but want to learn about whatever it is going on. So
Yeah, there's so many things that are going on in the world and everything. I was wondering because I can't remember if we brought it up last time, but what brought you to Colorado? Because Colorado is not your original home. So, what was it about Colorado that drew you there? And so much so that, of course, you have the attachment with the daughter being there, and of course, I'm thinking the daughter's mom is there as well. But what drew you to that particular area and made you kind of like put your roots down in Colorado? Because it definitely sounds like your roots are very much in that part of the country, even though you're not originally from there.
yeah, so I was born in Denver.
Okay.
And when my dad passed away when I was about one, my mom was from Wisconsin, so she moved us back by her family, and it was always kind of that desired place to live. As I was growing up, every couple of years we would come out here, and my actually interesting story. I was actually on my way to Portland, and my brother and sister were living in Colorado already, and so I came and stopped by them, and I was going to stay there for a couple of weeks before I headed to Portland, and then I just couldn't leave. And I've kind of heard that from a lot of people, that once you live in Colorado, it's really hard to leave here, because you got all the outdoor activities, you got the mountains, you get all four seasons, and the people in general are really accepting and open minded, and they really it's just a good atmosphere. So it's a hard place to leave once you've been here for a while.
I hear that, but I do have a question. It's actually a parenting question because whenever I think of Colorado, I think of that very much adventuristic kind of sense. Because I mean, definitely there are great ski areas in Colorado. I understand that there might be some great areas for rafting and things along those lines. And of course, there's definitely the mountains, so it's great for hiking. But we do know that just about everything that I named in that category can also be very, for lack of a better term, dangerous. And you've got a younger 4-year-old. So I'm trying to figure out as a parent how you can encourage her to do those things if she decides that she wants to do them, but also figure out ways that she can be safe while doing them. Because like I said, that's part of the reason that I don't necessarily go hiking, even though there's some pretty decent hiking trails here, even in North Carolina and everything. But I'm always, afraid that I'll twist something or something along those lines. And then I can also get into my lazy procrastination mode, which I know we are all guilty of as well. So it might even be just a simple walk where there is no danger. And I'm just being lazy about not going out there and everything. So that's something that I have to work on. But I'm just wondering, in that space of a parent and knowing that you are in an area that I won't say is rustic, but is definitely known for its wildlife and some of those wildlife type sports. And like I said, they are wonderful sports. I've always said I wanted to try whitewater rafting, and I definitely have said that I would like to try skiing. But I also know that those skiing falls when you used to watch the Wide World of Sports were not exactly the most pleasant things to watch. And that's probably why I was like, looks good, looks fun, but I don't want to be the one that's tumbling down and got umpteen broken bones in the process.
Yeah. Well, I think the nice thing too out here in Colorado is that there's a wide range of types of those activities. As far as even hiking, you can go on hikes that are meant for more professional type of hikers or rock climbers, those types of things. But then there's also just really casual areas where it's real casual to just go and walk, and it's not very treacherous or dangerous at all. I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin, and I used to snowboard what I would say down a hill. And so I actually, as long as I've lived out in Colorado, I've never been snowboarding on the mountain, because I always joke and I say, I heard what happened to Sonny Bono, so I'm okay. I'm okay not going down that huge mountain.
I hear you, and I remember that incident with Sonny Bono, and I definitely remember that. Ironically, I think it's Holly Springs. There is a fitness center type venue here in North Carolina that apparently was one of the areas that was training our Olympians in that sports, and snowboarding was a new sport in the Olympics this year. So they were representing, I think, three different countries, but definitely it just popped up in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. And I think it's because one of the people had moved here and was involved in that sport. So then they created this center, and the center, that's part of their reputation, is that they can advertise that they were the training facility for at least, I want to say, 4 or 5 of the U.S. Olympians in snowboarding. And the folks that are going like, snowboarding North Carolina doesn't make much sense because we ain't got that much snow. And we're talking about the triangle area of North Carolina. We're not even talking the mountains where there is snow, but a lot of that is that man-made snow until the real weather comes and everything. But we're not even talking that. We're talking the middle of the triangle, which is kind of like this whole like more urban area, and is definitely not where you're going to be expecting a snowboarding center. But apparently that's known for other things as well. I'm sure they've got other activities there. There might be bowling, might be some other, for all I know, yoga and other things that are going on there as well. But they do have that denotation that they are known for that particular thing and everything. And I'm going like, okay, now I don't think that the folks in Colorado or Wisconsin would be expecting a snowboarding center in the middle of North Carolina, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, it's amazing what they can do now with the man-made snow, and then even facilities that don't have snow at all, but they still practice and learn, snowboarding and tricks and things that I'm like, but they have like even the foam pits that they use lots of times for those people in training. It's amazing what people can do when they put their mind to it, huh?
It's just amazing how that can go on and everything. And as you said that, I did realize that it's probably more skateboarding that facility is known for and everything. But I'm sure the snowboarders will probably be training there as well. But as I was thinking about it, it was actually skateboarding that was the Olympic sport that was the popular one. But a lot of the skateboarders and the snowboarders do hang out together, and I think that's why I was getting a little bit of that confusion and everything. But definitely, that's going on, and I know the snowboarding is going to be taking place in the Winter Olympics. So definitely, I know there's a lot of training that goes on in both of those, and I know that Tokyo is also known for its Winter Olympics as well, and its winter sports as well as its summer sports. So just to clarify, the facility is actually known more for skateboarding, but skateboarding and snowboarding, they're very much related in the sense of being similar type sports and everything. One of the other things I was going to mention about your daughter and everything is she would have had a field day this past weekend, because here in Durham, and we haven't had many of them, but the venues are starting to open up. And in addition to the venues opening it up, there are certain festivals. Some of the festivals have gone totally hybrid. Some of them have gone live. I think that the Eno Festival back in July was 2 days of live and maybe 1 day of recording. And the year before, the beginning of the pandemic, they were strictly hybrid. But the Phoenix Festival this year was actually a live festival. So it was actually in the historically African-American part of Durham, and they had live music. They had a young lady there that had her own cartoon book, and they had, of course, all kinds of good food from the food trucks and a number of other things that were going on. Of course, the politicians were out there campaigning because it's a public crowd, and you're going to try to get as many votes as you can get in those environments. But I did see young people out there enjoying themselves, looking at even a big quilt that was out there to honor a certain part of society and certain tragedies that might have happened within that and everything. But definitely that was going on, and definitely there were things that the kids would have been engaged in. So I'm already imagining your daughter going like, "Can we have that food, or can we have that food?" So I'm already in one direction or another.
She's I always joke, she's more picky than I am with food, and I'm a pretty picky eater. She actually won't eat meat. The only meat she eats is bacon, and so we'll see what happens as she get older. I hope, my hope is that she'll get a little more adventurous with what she tries to eat, because I know I still struggle sometimes going out to nicer restaurants. I'm like, oh, what can I eat here? Do you have a kids menu?
But I can relate to that, because I actually had a cousin that was exactly that way. My mom is still to some degree an experimental cook, but even more so back then, she might be fixing bread, she might be fixing this or that, or reading this recipe or that and trying it out and everything. And I definitely had one of my cousins who went into the military. So I'm pretty convinced that the military got him out of that finicky viewpoint, even though I've not been paying that much attention to his eating habits when we've been together and everything. But I do remember as a teenager, he would literally almost like the full plate might be there and there might be a full plate of things on the plate. And by the time he was done separating the things that he didn't want to eat, their plate was probably about a third of the size of what was presented to him, because he's like, nope, don't like that, don't like that. So he was separating the food in that way. And I think I had another either relative or friend that also didn't like the foods to touch each other, and I never could figure that one out, because I'm going, at the end of the day, isn't the food all going into the same place? So in that, and going out the same place as well. So this not touching thing, I didn't quite understand, because it's all going into your mouth, it's all going to the stomach, and eventually going through the rest of the journey as well. So I'm like, I'm not quite following why you're going to be upset if the potatoes are touching the applesauce. If it's just for a minute, I mean, I get maybe a flavor thing, but like I don't want potatoes blended with the applesauce, because that sounds like that would be disgusting in terms of its taste and everything. But it was just like touching. I didn't quite get it. But
well, it's weird, because
hang up.
Yeah, we got like Thanksgiving where like a lot of people just put it all together anyways and mix it all together and eat that. Nah, I do too a lot of times, but yeah, that's funny. My daughter is kind of like that. If the food's like touching each other, she's like, no, that's not supposed to happen. I'm like, oh man, I hope she grows out of this a little bit. There's some things that I'm like, because I don't like to force anything on her at all, because then it's just making it this negative thing. And then she'll, from my, experience and knowledge of psychology, that almost will make it worse if I'm trying to force things onto her. So, so I just hope that as she grows older, she'll understand, and I can explain it to her when she can kind of think, have a little more cognitive ability to process concepts and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of funny. So but hey, Mark, I gotta get going.
No, I know you got to bounce off, and I'll just continue talking about the news and see if anybody else pops on. But I was glad that you popped on and joined the show and helped make it a little bit more livelier than just me reading LinkedIn news, which I'll probably continue doing, and also running some of the spots and everything until I wrap this particular show up very shortly. But anytime that you're available and want to pop in, I'll always put the links out there, and you're always welcome, as I told you when you were here with Miss Addie and the other guests. So always glad to have you pop in and share. But I know how it is, even though I don't have any kids of my own. I do have my two nephews, my friend Jatobi, who does our video game show here on the network. Oftentimes when he's ending, it's because he's running to go pick up one of his two kids, because he's got a daughter and a son, and one of those two has special needs as well. So he's always running hither and thither. So I do know about that parenting life, even though I may not have any of my own. But I definitely also am a mentor and a helper to some people that have kids, as well as just to people in general. So I do know that mindset. So I'm just glad that you were able to pop in, like Tim has done on occasion, and like Brian has done. I think even Nancy did once or twice as well. So I'm just glad that you were able to pop in. And we even had our buddy from LinkedIn, who I need to find out who they are, but apparently their LinkedIn name is Music Match to Love. So they were watching and engaging in our conversation. So I might have to learn more as to who they are. But no, get on out there, take care of that lovely daughter of yours. You do know, and I've told you this even on Brian's show, that one of these times when you pop in, I fully expect to see Carter join it as well, because I would love to see our folks see her energy, and not just Brian and some of the other people see that lovely energy that she puts out there and everything. So do let her know that she's got a fan of her energy in Mr. Lee over here in North Carolina, because I do find her to be quite an adorable kid.
Definitely, I will. And then I'll just one more shout out to Addie's book.
Yes.
Put it on the screen there. I'm excited to continue reading it. So it was good, great conversation on your show with her, and I'm glad I went and got the book. So
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mark. Appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon. Me and Carter are gonna have a tool belt for you at one point in time.
Okay, I'm waiting for that two belt. You said you're gonna have something special for me, so I'm waiting for it.
Yes, it's gonna. I already know what it's gonna be, and I'm gonna keep it from you until we create it. But it's gonna be funny. So
I'm looking forward to it, and I know that Carter has got you pledged to secrecy, because if there's one thing I know about kids, they will hold it against their parents, their uncles, whether it's a real uncle or a play uncle, if the secret gets out. That's the one thing that I know about kids, is that they will hold it against you and make sure that you never put out the information. They might even hold off some of that affection and that attention if they feel that you have backstabbed them in any sort of way. So I know that she's got you under lock and key, under leash, to make sure that that does not get out there. She's already probably telling you, she's going like, Alex, Daddy, we can't let Mr. Lee know what's going on. We got to keep it a secret and everything. So I know that's what's happening. So I know that she's got you wrapped around her finger, as the old saying goes.
Yeah, she does. All right, Mark. Well, we'll talk soon, and have a great rest of your show. And thanks for letting me come on.
Appreciate you. Take it easy and go make that run and go take care of that lovely daughter of yours.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Bye.
As always, that was a great conversation with Alex. I was glad he was able to pop in and share a little bit about what he's got going on in his world and everything. So definitely that is a truly amazing conversation. Always glad to have Alex join in. And definitely that is truly amazing when he pops in and shares some of his knowledge. And if anybody else wants to pop in, you're always welcome here on the radio show with Mark Lee. You never know who's going to pop in and what they're going to be talking about. But I was telling him about that Facebook incident that was going on, and apparently they were down for the count. We're going to see if they're going to come back anytime soon or anything along those lines. And right now I'm going to bring in some other conversations that are going on as well around the country and around the nation and even around the world. So definitely, apparently they're saying that you can build a following without the fame. So let's see what this particular thing is saying as well, that you can build a following without the fame. So I guess you don't have to have all of those fame elements that a lot of times we associate with building a following and things along those lines. So I'm going to try to read and see what this thing is saying in that regard. So it's social media platforms have increasingly become home to creators looking to launch their careers, and many have been successful doing so. But how often and how quickly does the fame and glory take place? Comedian and actor Kevin Fredericks started posting comedy videos online when he was bored at his day job. I want you all to hear when he started doing this. A decade ago, not yesterday, not a week ago, a decade ago. Since then, he's built a massive following through viral content. He says, I built this slowly and it took a long time. Be open to having to do certain things by yourself. So that is one of the things that is going on in that regard. So he was saying that it did take him a long time to build his fan base. Definitely that is a case and everything. So, sometimes it takes a long time to build that fan base. And he says, for those who are trying to figure it out, you might know him as Kev on Stage. His powerful viral videos have kept people laughing for more than a decade. So that is what he was talking about earlier on LinkedIn. He was even trying to say how folks can diversify their platforms and things along those lines, because definitely folks, if they're going to build a platform, they want to build it and they want it to take time and everything along those lines. There's this thought that it's just going to happen instantaneously because a TikTok video might have gone viral and they might have become a millionaire. I know that we oftentimes talk about Kelly Smart and the success that she has had, but even in her case, I think that it took a while for her to build up an audience and to actually start making the money that she has been making. So definitely that is what folks have been doing. And of course, even in the case of Kevin, he built up his following through viral videos, and he was using them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and more lately, TikTok. And recently he launched the Real Comedians of Social Media Tour, which sold out in cities across the US. Then he launched KevOnStage.com, the best place to buy merch, support him on Patreon, find tour dates, and discover other African-American comedians. It's like a very niche Netflix for comedians of color. With multiple revenue streams, Kev on stage is the definition of a successful creator, and he has the Maserati to prove it. This approach is taking persistence, patience, and business acumen, and definitely that's part of what they were talking about in the Hello Monday episode that was airing on LinkedIn. So definitely they were asking all kinds of questions, and I'm sure that he was giving some honest and insightful answers and things along those lines. And we just heard some of those things that he was talking about um, in that regards. As a matter of fact, Tommy Mitchell, a physician, was saying, make this table instead of being invited to the table. And I think that that's really what I was trying to say, that a lot of people on the entrepreneurial side do want to do in the African American community. And maybe that's the way I need to phrase it when the next time I talk to Shaquille, because I think that when he's hearing me talk about these things on the news, he's thinking that folks are wanting to necessarily be invited to the table, which is what I think most people are trying to, is like create their own table. So like I said, if you're not getting the notice of what you want, then make your own table and things along those lines. And that is something that I have always been a big fan of as well. So as a matter of fact, Dr. Tommy Mitchell was saying, this episode is so relatable. A woman of color who is often told no. However, I'm a feisty and a go-getter, and comedy is my jam. And they were saying that they have now been motivated to start recording some of their own works. So that's kind of what I think the whole message is to kind of like create your own. If you don't see that the people are giving you the avenues, then create your own avenue. And I know that there are folks that have been doing that on a regular basis. There are even some platforms out there that I've had the pleasure of talking to, like the On Channel and like Exposure TV, that are creating their own platforms as well, because maybe they weren't getting enough interest from Netflix or from some of the other things that are out there. So they decided to create their own. And that is something that I think more and more people need to be doing, no matter which part of the culture that they are in. So I think that there are some folks that may be of the mistaken belief that I think that it's supposed to be done for them. And that is not the case whatsoever. And even not even necessarily trying to say in terms of investments and things along those lines. But that's just some of my thoughts. If anybody would like to add in or chime in about these instant stars, who, as we oftentimes find out, are not as instant as we think. It takes a while for them to get their stuff together, and in order for it to happen in any regard. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts about this, their comments on this, and what they think is going on. By the way, one of the entertainment industry's largest labor unions has voted to go on strike in an effort to push for better pay and quality of life from Hollywood studios. Yes, a member of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, has spoken loud and clear after having been unable to negotiate with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. While it would put a huge chunk of Hollywood business on hold, it wouldn't necessarily bring the industry to a complete standstill. And I want to say that there are members of that union here as well, because I think that that is some of the same people that do some of the backstage work for some of our concerts and things along those lines. I actually need to check with the venues like the Carolina Theater and others, because I think that there might be some IATSE employees in those fields as well. So there might be some in those fields, and I need to check with my good friend Ray Pascal, because I think he is a member of that union as well, as both a person that has done what I consider to be grip and stagehand work. I think that he was a member of that, just like I think Owen Scott might be as well, but I need to check with both of them and verify that, so I can be saying that that is absolutely the case, and maybe even find out what some of their thoughts are about how the unions are treating their folks, and also how the industry is treating folks that are in those fields as well. So if anybody's watching and you're in that kind of union space, particularly the union space when it comes to backstage work in entertainment, I would love to hear from y'all. Maybe even invite y'all on to one of these shows as well. Speaking of which, I know that Nick Palaveda was talking about the whole concept of the Sierra Club and their stances on some issues, including some issues that were outside of the environment, like them making a stance around Black Lives Matter or a stance around a number of other issues as well. Is this something that you think that companies should be doing? Should they be making stances outside of whatever their target interest is? And also, do you have a problem with nonprofits getting paid large amounts of sum of money? That was some of the conversation that we were having earlier, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Or do they just need to stick with the cause, whatever that cause is, whether it's the Sierra Club or the NRA with some of their gun rights issues, or Planned Parenthood around birth control and things of that nature? Or should they and other corporations be out there making blanket statements about things going on that are of global conversation, be that Black Lives Matter, be that the Me Too movement, be that whatever? So I would love to hear from you, our listeners here on the radio show, your thoughts about that and the reason that you have those thoughts. But coming back to the Hollywood backstage union workers, they voted overwhelmingly to authorize an industry-wide strike. Matthew Loeb, the president of the IATSE, said, "I hope that the studios will see and understand the resolve of our members. The ball is in their court. If they want to avoid a strike, they will return to the bargaining table and make us a reasonable offer." So it sounds like folks are trying to ask for a reasonable offer and trying to ask for better money and all of that. So that is part of what the article was saying. And I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this whole issue and everything in that line. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Hollywood Reporter and their article about it, and they were talking about how the ATSE members had recently spoke up during a car painting rally. Matter of fact, some of the guild members were describing grueling working conditions, and some were saying that they were not breaking for lunch for 16 or 17-hour days. And I do know that the rules are that no matter what the job is, that you're supposed to have those lunch breaks and things along those lines. So it does look like folks are definitely looking at this issue and saying what they've got to say in that regard. As a matter of fact, Rebecca Ryan, the National Executive Director of Local 600, says the members are coming together to speak with one voice about the very basic things that they are fighting for, including improved working conditions with rest periods, higher minimum wage, and more streaming compensation. This is one of the many gatherings around the country where people are encouraging each other to stay strong and vote and stand for safety and equity. It's a fight about fairness and safety and dignity. So definitely it does look like a lot of people are going to be involved. As a matter of fact, the members include cinematographers, camera operators, picture and sound editors, hairstylists. So I'm thinking that possibly even my friend Allison may be involved in that as well. Makeup artists and script coordinators who have been given, the authorization to launch this strike and everything. So they were saying that just in that particular area, that there are a number of members around the country, and it'll be interesting to see what people have to say. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a quote of one of the members from over there in California, First Assistant Camera person, Carmen Spado, a local 600 member, said, "We're just exhausted. They have been pumping out content for giant companies like Amazon and Netflix, and we're not breaking for lunch for 16, 17-hour days." She cited one pilot that with overages cost $20 million to make, and we're still doing 16 to 17-hour days and not taking a meal break. They are scheduling not having a meal break. It's not an accident anymore. She added, "Our turnarounds were only 9 hours a night maximum." And another local 800 member who requested anonymity said, "The last few shows I have worked on have been new media deals. There are varying contracts, but you get offered way less money to work on just as big a show. I've worked on shows where I've worked 100 days in a row without a day off. There's not the work-life balance that we have had in this industry any longer." And a local 800 graphic designer, Alex Masakin, said, "There have been times where I have had to be ready to work overtime, sometimes 12-hour days, sometimes even longer than that. And that's without a moment's notice. Having a personal life is pretty difficult. Forget going to the doctor or making time for the dentist. That stuff you just have to wait until your job's over to take care of yourself." So that was some of the things that were said by some of the people that are actually in that industry and in that field. So very interesting article. And as Catherine Clinch, who is a blogger at the Huffington Post, said, "Everybody who has ever watched a TV show or a movie on any platform needs to go to this site and start to read it." So they were asking folks to go to this article about the strike and why they were going on that. So Catherine Clinch added, the glamour of Hollywood is a myth. It belongs only to the rich and pampered stars and the most highly paid above the line players. You'll be hearing a lot about this particular strike over the coming days. The joy that these movies and television shows are bringing you is killing some of the people who work to create them. Not the people you read about in magazines and online sites, the people who actually do the work that makes it all come alive. The men and women who run the camera and the sound, dress and cough the people you see on screen, those who edit the rough film, and hand it over to those who add the special effects. So definitely there is a lot of folks in Hollywood that are upset and wanting to see some better pay and some better opportunities, particularly in the behind the scenes work. Speaking of behind the scenes work, I do want to mention that a past guest of ours is going to be doing a performance on Clubhouse, that being none other than IPC. It stands for I Paint Creatures. And at 1 o'clock on this particular Wednesday, so the day after tomorrow, there will be a performance, and yours truly will be one of the performers. I believe I've got a part there as Echo, and I'm hoping that that is one of the scenes that will be incorporated and everything. So that will be fun if that is the case. But I'll be there to support no matter what, because it is a very powerful message that IPC is putting out there, and part of it is around inclusion, and that is even part of what I think the conversation is with these folks that are going on a strike as well. So I will probably put that in the link somewhere here and everything. And it is an event that'll be at 1 hour time. So hopefully you will get a chance to come to that performance on Clubhouse and check it out. It should be truly amazing. And I look forward to seeing folks there enjoying it and checking it out and leading in their insight into that as well. So that should be a truly fun thing that is going on. And I hope that I'll see many of you at that particular event that is coming our way very shortly. So it should be a fun one, and definitely one that people should be checking out on a regular basis. So that was a thing that I saw in the news. I also saw something about, is COVID finally over? And I'm interested to hear what people have to say about that as well, because that is definitely an interesting thought, and it'll be interesting to see what people have to say about that and what their thoughts are in that regards, because I'm sure a number of people may be having thoughts that are of that belief about hybrid work, and some others may be like, nah, I've had enough of hybrid work, ready to get back into my workforce and all of that. So one of the articles said that more than 18 months into the pandemic, corporate offices remain at widely divergent levels of reopening, split around the vaccination rates and various risk appetites among residents in big cities across the country. With office openings so fragmented, hybrid work seems here to stay, at least in the short term. Yet experts are split on whether the hybrid model is here for good. While workers initially celebrated the freedom it offered, many are now confronting some issues as they transfer partially back to some in-person office activities. So that is an interesting article and all of that. As a matter of fact, Ben Haber, who is a CVP at RacePoint Global, said, every time I hear companies talk about their amazing hybrid work schedule, I cringle a little bit. The idea of having a schedule of when you have to be in an office feels so 2019. It's been 18 months since I started working from home, and I've discovered a few things about myself. I'm more productive and focused at home because I can tune out distractions. 2, positive elements associated with being in an office, like collaboration and relationships, are not lost as long as you prioritize them. I've taken my 2.5 hours of daily commuting and made better use of it. On average, half goes to work and half goes to family. I'm happier and less stressed and don't miss out on little things like first steps and making pumpkin muffins. So that is actually something that a lot of folks will be able to relate to. They added that my hope is that hybrid work is just a bridge for companies to get to flexibility, which empowers employees to work where they want and embrace how people actually want to work. After all, if the company doesn't trust someone to work from home, why would they trust them at all? We're going to come back to some more thoughts about this whole concept of hybrid work and all of that, but I'm going to go get a glass of water. So I'm going to let y'all check out a couple of brief announcements while I go get this quick glass of water.
It's time for you to start bossing in social media. For all your social media needs, you've come to the right place at the right time to get your website designed, landing page, social media platforms, and get the training you need to get in front of the people that's ready to buy your products and services. Let me train you with StreamYard, Zoom, Clubhouse, and much more. And let me help you get your virtual professionals, not assistants, because assistants can only assist you, but the virtual professionals can give you that professional flavor that you need to expand your reach and increase your revenue. Jump on in and get in where you fit in and start bossing today.
I had the opportunity to work with Lotus Richey and her team to create a promo video for my business. And let me tell you, she and her team are pretty darn outstanding. I had recorded a video that we were going to use in the promo. And during our meeting, they actually walked me through what worked in the video, and they provided suggestions for improving the video so that I can actually capture the audience and the clients that I want and the people that need my services. They actually told me what I could add to the video and how to set the entire thing up so that when people watch that promo, they will come away knowing who I am, what I do, and why they should contact me. So if you have the chance to work with Lotus Richey and her team, you are not going to be disappointed.
Come to think of it, I need to find out if anybody won the lottery, because I know I bought 2 lottery tickets, but I haven't heard whether there was a winner or whether I need to go and try to invest in some more. Or as some people might say, just throw away those dollar bills like you don't have anything better to do with them and all of that. But I haven't even noticed whether there was a winner or not. So maybe I'll do some research in that regards. But coming back to this whole concept of hybrid and the hybrid jobs, Dave McLeod, a CEO at Thought Exchange, said, "Is the hybrid work honeymoon over?" On this topic, I have to agree with the HR experts in this timely piece, which was written by CNBC's Susan Commodity. What workers now seek above all is flexibility in their jobs. And this type of flexibility doesn't necessarily mean with new hybrid or remote guidelines being set by their workplaces. Why? Because flexibility is just code for trust. That is what Mr. McLeod said. After being productive through the COVID lockdowns, despite rigid oversight from their bosses deservingly, people now feel that they should have earned the trust to be able to work in ways that are more aligned with their lives. For some, this means working in an office, for others, working at home or in Hawaii. When output is ultimately what matters, who cares where and when it's generated? Critically, workplace trust is a two-way street. Employees have shown that they can be trusted to work with less oversight, and now businesses also need to gain workers' trust on critical issues of equity. For example, workers need to be able to trust they have equal opportunity for career success despite location. People who are more effective in a remote environment need to be assured they will have the same chances to succeed based on contribution, not presenteeism. At the same time, businesses need also to trust their employees enough to work with them directly in reimagining workplaces to maximize output, which includes fostering mental and physical health. And the end result is one that our businesses and our world needed even before the pandemic. Happier, more effective employees collaborating with their employees to design workplaces of the future while emitting less carbon with ineffective and unwanted business travel. The new currency of work is finally trust, not employer defined remote, hybrid, or distributed work allowances. Moving forward, this particular gentleman was saying organizations that are able to create more trust capital will outperform organizations that can't or won't. So that is definitely some interesting thoughts in that regards. And by the way, Ty West, who is a senior editor and a national content person at American City Business, said in the pre-pandemic era, commuting time occupied an interesting gray area in the employee employer dynamic. Most businesses probably would agree that 45 minutes a worker spent in the car on the way to office was company time. Most employees probably weren't being compensated for the time. For employees, commutes were often viewed as a necessary cost of employment, even though it was probably an annoying and frustrating one. But this particular gentleman was saying, my guess is most employees didn't consider their commuting time as their own time. Prior to the pandemic, commutes occupied a strange no man's land. When COVID-19 hit last spring, that changed overnight. So, time employees previously spent commuting became time spent playing with their kids, pursuing a hobby, and a variety of other things. For others, it became time to get more work done than ordinarily might have been done in late hours or on the weekends. Once you consider time in the car, public transit, the time you spent getting ready, and everything along those lines, then you might find some interesting things in that sense. So for others, it became time to get more work done that might ordinarily been done in late hours or on the weekends. And actually, I think I said that earlier, but let me just go back and says, once you consider time in the car, public transit, the time you spent getting ready, and everything else that goes along with in-person work, that's a significant amount of time over the course of a week, often 5 to 7 hours. And as one that has been on mass transit, and that's actually how I get around quite a bit, I can say that yes, depending on where the job is, it can be that long. Matter of fact, I remember when I was living in Raleigh and working in Durham, it was easy, about an hour commute both ways, and that was just a commute to the individual terminals. We probably were talking another 30 minutes to an hour to get to my destination when I was living over there in Raleigh. So we were probably talking about a 2-hour commute both ways. So that was definitely the case as I think about it. It might have been a little bit less, but not much. And that adds up in the course of a time and all of that. So definitely that is something else that people are thinking about, and as they are thinking about what's going on in that regard. As a matter of fact, one person said, when you're asking for workers to return, you're not just asking them to spend 8 hours in the office, you're asking for that bonus time back as well. So, that's some of that bonus time when you're trying to get back and forth. And in some cases, you aren't even paid for that. And in some cases, it was also money that went out in the sense of the cost. Now, given there were various discount passes, if you were doing that regularly, and right now here in the city of Durham, as well as throughout the Triangle, the buses and the mass transit, for the most part, are free. I think that if you're going on Greyhound and some of those outlets, you still have to pay whatever the fees are. But in terms of the getting around the city kind of situation in Durham, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, and Carborough, those buses are all free at the moment. But who knows how long that will stay that way or when it will change. So that'll be interesting to see what folks have to say in that regard. So definitely always good to have these conversations and hear what y'all have to say about them as well. So that was the whole thing about the hybrid and work environment. Another interesting article, and we actually alluded to this earlier in the news today, was that some people are saying that COVID is on the run again. So they're saying there was new U.S. cases of COVID-19 falling by more than a third this past month, according to the New York Times, that some folks are starting probably to feel a lot better about the situation. So it does seem that the virus appears to be retreating once more, a scenario that could play out at various levels of intensity for some time. Globally, 2 cases are down by almost a third suggesting that some of the retrenchment stems from the virus itself. COVID spreads faster for about 2 months, seemingly into those most vulnerable have been infected and recedes for another 2. Since September 1, U.S. hospitalizations for COVID has also fallen by a quarter and deaths by 10%. In other COVID news, 76% of Americans 12 and over have been vaccinated with at least one shot, a level bound to rise with mandates, as well as likely regulatory approval of Pfizer's shot for children ages 5 to 11, according to the New York Times. Johnson & Johnson will ask the Food and Drug Administration to approve a booster shot of its vaccine, the last of 3 manufacturers to do so. As a matter of fact, when I was talking to Miss Princess Adjaman, who is in London and was on the Clubhouse, she was just telling me that she had just had her booster shot and was really feeling very bad and very miserable. So it does look like even the booster shot is impacting some people as well. And I'm hoping to check in with her later on and see how she's doing over there in London, where she is working in the medical profession. So definitely, hopefully she is doing well and recovering after that third shot, the booster shot. And they were also saying that vaccination rates have risen to 90% and above among teachers and staff at the nation's largest public school districts in New York City following a mandate. So that is something else that is going on as well. As a matter of fact, there was an article also about education in the New York Times that talked about how it is being impacted and how a lot of people are not trying to rush back into that field and all of that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna try to bring that article up and share a little bit of that news with you as well and hear what y'all's thoughts are in this regard. So, like I said, I do want to thank Alex for popping in earlier and for some of the things that he had to say and what he was looking at as well. So definitely want to thank him for making that appearance as I try to find this particular article that was about the education system and where we are with that education system. So I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about it as I talk about it and pull it up in a matter of a second or two as I'm trying to get through it to get to people's ideas and how they feel about this particular article that was put out there recently. So I'm sure that y'all will have some interesting thoughts, and definitely I'm sure that people will be offering their opinions as I bring the story here and everything. So definitely, if you've got thoughts, don't hesitate to go to the website, check us out and everything. Oh, that's an interesting story. Apparently, Andrew Yang has left the Democratic Party to become an independent. So I'm going to try to find that other one now, talking about education. But I think we're going to take a break and find out what y'all got to say about Andrew Yang leaving the Democratic Party and becoming a not a libertarian, but a independent. So definitely, this ought to be interesting. It says Mr. Yang, who ran unsuccessfully for president in 2020 and for mayor of New York this year, said he could be more honest about politics if he were not a Democrat. So Andrew Yang, the former long-shot presidential candidate and one-time technology entrepreneur, announced on Monday that he had left the Democratic Party and become an independent. In an essay on his website, Mr. Yang, who built a passionate following in 2019 during the party's primary race, highlighted his work for Democrats. He noted the deep relationship he had developed with activists and local leaders and the fundraisers he had headlined, and he took credit for helping to elect the party's candidates, including President Biden. Yet he described the two-party system as stuck, saying he could be more honest about politics and politicians if he were not constrained by official membership as a Democrat. Mr. Yang offered his support for alternative election systems like open primaries and ranked choice voting, saying these were key reforms that would give voters more choices in campaigns. I believe I can reach people who are outside the system more effectively, he wrote. I feel more independent. Dr. Yang struggled to find his footing since skyrocketing to prominence during the 2020 race. One of the highest profiled Asian Americans to ever run a presidential campaign, Mr. Yang built a fiercely loyal following of disaffected voters through proposals like providing every American with a universal basic income of $1,000 per month. After ending his unlikely campaign, he joined CNN as a political commentator, started his own podcast, and moved to Georgia to help Democrats win the runoff Senate race in January. A bid for the New York City mayor this spring ended in defeat after Mr. Yang struggled to answer basic questions about the functions of city government and failed to build on any early momentum. Last month, he announced plans to start his own political party called the Forward Party, a phrase listed from the last chapter of his new book. In an excerpt from his book published by Politico magazine this week, Mr. Yang recounted the strangeness of running for president and how the experience has inflated his own sense of his own importance. I'd been a CEO and founder of a company, but running for office was a different animal, he wrote. Everyone in my orbit started treating me like I might be a presidential contender. I was getting a crash course in how we treat the very powerful, and it was weird. He added, it turns out that power actually gives you brain damage. So he was saying that definitely that can happen if you run for power and run for political office. So it'll be interesting to see what people have got to say about what he was doing as well. So that was another interesting article that was there. I'm still trying to find the one that was dealing with education and how a lot of people are flocking away from education, because I found that earlier today. I found that to be quite an interesting article, and I'm sure that many of you will find it interesting as well. So it definitely brought up some very concerning things, because we know that the teachers are not getting paid nearly enough. So it'll be interesting if I can find it and what folks have to say about that particular thought as well. So if you got thoughts in that regard, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So let us know where your mind is in that regards and what else you have going on in your thoughts. So they're always glad to hear people learning different things in that regard. So I'd love to hear your folks' thoughts on this and what you would like to see us cover even here on the network. So if you've got any thoughts, definitely share them and everything. So that would be quite an interesting article, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about that and even things that you might be concerned about or wanted to talk about just in general. So always glad to have these amazing conversations and to share them with you here on International Broadcast Media. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what folks have to say about the teachers and some of the folks saying that they are actually getting away from the field because they feel that they are not getting the support that they need in any form or fashion. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, and if that's something that you agree with. So definitely, if that's something that you think about or agree with, let me know, and we will bring that in as well. So, like I said, truly amazing things going on in the world and around the country, including that whole situation with Facebook. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna click on Facebook right now and see if they're up or not, or if they're still down, because that would be quite fascinating if they were still down. So we're gonna go do a little bit of on the field training and checking out right now, and it looks like they are still down. Because I just clicked on it, and there was no sign of a life there in Facebook. So it does look like Facebook is down and remains to be down as well. So definitely, if you got any thoughts or got any ways that you folks can get out there and relieve that problem, I am sure that we would love to hear it from you and yours. So if you've got any ideas about solutions, because we are about being solution based, then please let us know. And of course, we will get to those issues as well. So if you got any thoughts in that field, just don't hold them to yourself. Pass them on. Let us share them with our audience, and definitely if I on those platforms, usually, except for if the platform is down, then you can't find me on the platforms because the platform is down. That's just logic and all of that. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what goes on that space. By the way, I just learned that. So, what did y'all think about the whistleblower incident with Facebook? And do you think that that was part of the conversation and part of the story? Was that it was too much people learning about what was going on? We have somebody that is an ex CEO of um, Pepsi, and they apparently think that companies can do better. So In fact, the article says it's probably fair to say that highly compensated CEOs of Fortune 500 companies aren't figures for whom a great many people are inclined to feel much sympathy. But whatever our feelings, we can safely admit that their job has only become more complicated in recent years as issues of economic and gender inequality, ecological impact, and the corporate response to divisive politics have become increasingly central and hot button. The former Pepsi co-CEO Indra Nooyi, who is 65 and held her position for 12 years before stepping down in 2018, just published a memoir, My Life is Full, largely about her efforts to try to address those changes. CEOs have made it difficult these days, said Noya, who is on the board at Amazon and during her time at Pepsi, pushed to reorient the food and beverage giant toward a version of sustainability. There are many issues that came up, she said. Then she grinned. I'm glad I'm not a CEO today. I had my set of challenges in my time. In the book, you talked about a meeting you had with Steve Jobs at So in a book, let's see. So there's all kinds of things about this article that sounds quite interesting and everything. So let's see what they said. My Life in Full is the memoir that she wrote, and that was largely about her efforts to try to address those changes. She said CEOs have it difficult these days, and there are many issues that come up. And then she was saying that she's just glad about not having those challenges. And then when the interview continued, they were asking her about like how Pepsi had cut sugar and everything, and her answer was, "I think it's having an idea of where you want to go to, and then showing the real dedication to getting there. Sometimes you say too much plastic is bad for the ocean, is bad for landfills. We have to get more recycling. Some people talk about all that, but then don't do anything. There are others that say this is what needs to be done. This is what we're going to do. This is the investment. This is the timeline." So Hmm. So coming back to that whole plastic thing, and I have had some friends that are involved in that fight and everything. So they went on to say those people have good intent. So it's not a question of right or wrong. It's are you doing the right thing to get to the right goal? That's where people fall down. And I agree with that. Sometimes it just comes down to the reasoning that goes on and all of that. And definitely talked about some of the positive things that have gone on in the sense of the company. And one of the things that she said was that PepsiCo that I inherited, it's a great company that was purpose built for one time. Society was different, tastes were different, lifestyles were different. Everything changed. We had to worry a lot more about plastic and water use and carbon footprint because of climate change. We had to worry about what kind of products to put in the marketplace. There are companies that ignore all that and say this is only about consumer choice. I'm also for consumer choice, but I wanted to make the better choice and an easier choice. Hmm. So they were saying that they wanted to make the better choice and easier choice, and I can definitely agree with that. You always wanted to do that, and then going on, they said the biggest issue is when you use the word socially responsible. It sounds like you're giving away money that shareholders should be getting. It's not about giving away money we've made. It's about how we make money a different way. So definitely that's interesting. And she also said, I've thought about that quite a bit. You can start off by saying I have to maximize my profits in the short term at all costs. What's the highest ranking earnings per share I can deliver every quarter going forward? There are shareholders that love that approach. There's another approach that says I want to deliver great returns, but I want to make sure that I'm not creating problems downstream for the company because of the business model that I've developed to deliver those returns or the costs I'm passing on to society. That requires a unique ability to think carefully about what's changing in society. How do you want to be viewed as a good company commercially and ethically? The ultimate goal is to be a positive force in society. So definitely brought up some interesting ideas and about being a corporate person and everything. Mhm. Hmm. But there's something about another book called Refresh too. Let's see what they got said. Well, apparently there was also an article about the Kendall Jenner ad, and the CEO said the Kendall Jenner ad was a story which came from a good place. We're talking about unity. How do we bring people together? But that was not relevant to the book. I mean, I had a bunch of stories about Pepsi Refresh, which is a campaign that I loved and that I had to pull. I agonized over it, but how is that relevant to this book? There isn't a story I try to avoid. Even and I'm just adding this, even stories that are uncomfortable should still be added and everything. But that's just my opinion. So, like, if you're going to deal with things like slavery, you need to do it in that uncomfortable standpoint, including the fact that there was traitors. So they were adding a little bit more about that. They were saying, but that was not relevant to this book. Talking about the Kendall Jenner stuff. And they were saying that they had a bunch of stories about Pepsi Refresh, which is a campaign that they love, and they were all so acknowledged that they had to pull it. And they were even talking about intentionality. So yes, one of the things that the CEO said, yeah, we were trying to bring communities together. Pepsi does not have a bad bone in its body. We were the company that put the first African American in an ad. We were the company that promoted the first African American to a vice president in the history of corporate America. We were the first company to have customers in the Deep South. This is an interesting article, and hopefully y'all will check it out. But it definitely was talking about some of the things that were impacted, and definitely some interesting insight that Indra was given in that regard. So if those are stories that resonate with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts about some of these stories and some of the things that are going on in your life even, and how you are handling the different things going on in that space. So always good to hear from our guests and to hear from people that are listening and watching and paying attention to what is going on in the world. So I'm getting ready to bring a couple of more spots, and then we're going to come back with some more discussion. Then we're going to see about some other people popping in as well if they don't choose to. Of course, we've got Mullins Music and Memories at the 4 o'clock hour. But let's check out about this Total Knee Recovery Program.
Hi there. My name is Dr. Shayla Creer, and I am the owner of Fist Mobile Physical Therapy.
Fully rehabilitate at home with Fist. PT's Total Knee Knockout Program. Bring the clinic right into your home as Dr. Creer takes you through 12 effective physical therapy sessions that completely rehabilitate the knee safely, efficiently, and effectively. The program is structured with custom exercises to target the muscles necessary to promote healing and get you moving. Get the entire program for one low price.
And anyway, as a result of the accident, I had to have 3 surgeries and 15 months of physical therapy 3 days a week in order to be able to walk again, to sit up by myself, and to be able to breathe again on my own. As you can imagine, it was not easy, but due to God, first and foremost, and my wonderful healthcare team, I persevered and I pushed through. And I am not proud to say that it's been 13 years now, and I have no pain whatsoever. And I thank God that I'm able to share and pass that blessing on to you. So as you go through this rehab protocol, just know that it may not be easy, it may not be fun, but it will definitely be worth it. And I'm with you every step of the way. And I want you to know that if I can do it, you can do it. So let's go ahead and get started with this.
See, being in business, regardless if you're a non-business or any type of business, is about connecting. It's about hearing new information that can drive you forth. It's more about coming together with people with like minds in order to make your business grow.
You don't wake up wanting to be mediocre and just do just enough. You want to excel. You want to be a master in your craft. You want to take it to the next level. So it's not going to happen by accident. So you have to be mindful and think of what can I do today to help take me to the next level.
The truth is, your life will only change when you get new information. Your life will only change when you move forward with another level of thinking. This expo is about new information and moving your life to another level.
Speaking of expos, as that last conversation did and everything, don't forget that Dr. Kelly will be doing his expo in November. So that'll be the week before Thanksgiving. So, Thanksgiving falls on that particular Thursday. So if you'll mark off that week before, that is when the expo will be taking place on that Monday through Sunday, the week before, and everything along those lines. I also know that Brian Shulman is planning his celebration event for March, and that should be coming up like in the think second weekend in March, and that'll be taking place in San Diego, if I'm remembering correctly, and all of that. So definitely looking forward to trying to be part of that. And of course, festivals are kicking back in. I'm hoping that in 2022, we'll see more of the festivals in their traditional times and at their traditional spaces. But I do know that we are going to pick some more films for Nevermore. So the Nevermore Film Festival will be coming your way, and I'll be involved in that one more time, and I'm looking forward to seeing some amazing films and also seeing some films that I may be scratching my head about as well, because that happens in any time you judge these contests. You have those that really resonate with you and that you really enjoy, and there are some that you're sitting there scratching your head and wondering what the filmmaker or the creatives were thinking about. But who knows, I might even find some of those same creatives and bring them into this space so they can talk about what they've got going on in their world as well. So definitely that is an amazing thing, and looking forward to having that involvement also. So definitely we can make that happen, and definitely looking forward to being involved in that. And I know that the Hayti films are starting, and they're going to be showing a series of films. I don't know if there will be like the traditional festival, but I'm thinking there's going to be more like a series of films that are shown at various times. As a matter of fact, I believe some of those films are coming up this coming weekend and all of that. And I want to say that that will be taking place over there by Lincoln Hospital here in this area. It seems to me that I remember there being one this weekend and one the following weekend. So I'll try to get some more details and put that out to y'all as well. So definitely looking forward to finding folks being involved in that, and looking forward to finding out what kind of films we will be showing during the course of time. And of course, like I said, the Phoenix Festival was held recently, and I know that there might be some other festivals coming our way also. So looking forward to finding out about them and how they are planning for the rest of this year. I want to say that that this is the month, and it might even be the week of the Bluegrass Festival. As a matter of fact, I need to double check that, and I can do that right now. Hey, it looks like Facebook might actually be back on the line. Nope, maybe not, because I was actually checking and I thought they were back online, but maybe they are not whatsoever. But that has nothing to do with Google and the folks that I need to look over here to find out when that Bluegrass Festival is. And I believe that that is this weekend and all of that. So I'm going to pull that up and let y'all know the dates for that, because I'm pretty sure that that is coming up this coming weekend. And I know that I have attended in the past, and it is always a fun activity and a fun event to check out in things along those lines. And definitely I need to see if that is the case and when they are going to be here. And I was, maybe it was this past weekend. So maybe I missed it. That would have been a surprise, but maybe not all of that much of a surprise because I've been known to miss some events just because of COVID and what's going on in the world. And I was actually working this weekend because we actually had a wedding up at the center and everything along those lines. So unfortunately, I did not get a chance to go there and everything. And yes, it does look like that festival was held on October 1st and the 2nd. So it does look like the Bluegrass Festival for 2021 has already taken place. So it does look like that was this past weekend and everything along those lines. But Artsplosure is this weekend. That's right. Artsplosure, that annual festival, is going to be on the 9th and the 10th. So that'll be Saturday and Sunday. So definitely glad to see that and glad to see that that took place. And let me see what they had to say about the Bluegrass Festival since apparently I missed it this year. So let's see what folks had to say about it as they were back outside. And like I said, I do know that we had the Phoenix Festival, and the article in the News Observer said after being forced to take an off year because of the coronavirus pandemic, Lori and David English of New Bern were looking forward to the hundreds of new customers they gained at the World of Bluegrass Festival in downtown Raleigh. So they were saying that that is what they were looking forward to, and I'm sure that that is what they got and everything along those lines. So it says it's our best event every year, David English said. Together, the couples own Junkman's Crossroads, one of the many street vendors that adorn the sidewalks along Fayetteville with their quirky, colorful, and crafty creation. So that is something that was going on in that regards. And English says, I get a lot of wood from a guy in Hillsboro. Somebody will ask him to cut a tree because it's fallen or it's about to fall. He'll go take that tree out and cup it up. He uses that for his projects, and stuff he doesn't use, he passes it down to me. And so in the first day of the festival, English said he sold about a dozen kazoos, which can cost $35 to $75. But he says Saturday is always the bigger day. So that was an article that was talking about what had happened on Friday. And somebody else that was the owner of Hot House Posey, a handmade jewelry and home decor shop. We're definitely talking about some of the things that they had going on. As a matter of fact, October is starting holiday planning and holiday income. This particular person said, and this is always a really good start to my holiday. So definitely, they were estimating that they met hundreds of people who were stopping by their tent through the weekend. So definitely looks like folks were looking forward to that. And the last time the full festival was held in 2019, the city of Raleigh estimated that 218,000 people attended shows, leading to an $18.65 million economic impact. So definitely, and that's something that's very important to the city of Raleigh. As a matter of fact, in May, the News and Observer reported that since the festival has moved to Raleigh, the city also estimates total attendance at 1.3 million, and that $80 million has flowed into Wake County as the event's host. Due to COVID-19, last year's festival was all virtual, with concerts streamed online instead of in person throughout downtown Raleigh. And this year, the festival had a combination of in-person shows and streamed concerts, and thousands of people filled the blocked off downtown streets. So it wasn't a totally back to the ways that it used to be, and it was kind of that hybrid kind of model and all of that. So that is what took place there, and it does look like it was a success. And I'm sure they'll be looking forward to doing some great things with Artsplosure as well. So that'll be coming our way this weekend. And who knows, maybe I'll try to slide on into the Raleigh area and check that out if given the opportunity, or if it comes about in my schedule and things along those lines. So definitely, like I said, things are slowly getting back to a semblance of normal, whatever that semblance of normal may be, and all of that. So that is always truly amazing things going on in the world. By the way, another article that y'all may be interested in is making a friend out of anxiety. Anxiety knows how to keep us up at night and creep its way into our everyday lives, holding us back from presenting ourselves the way we desire. But what if there was an effective way to harness that everyday anxiety and turn it into a powerful asset? Neuroscience expert Wendy Sasaki says there is. She says anxiety gives us information about what we appreciate and what we value in our lives. We just need to learn how to use it to our advantage. So I might have to reach out to her and see about getting her on the show since she is affiliated with NYU, and maybe we can learn what some of these ideas are and how they can be handled in one form or fashion or another. So that might be an interesting article to check out and to see what happens in that regard. So I know a lot of people will probably be paying attention to a number of things going on in our community and things that they may be interested in as well. So I hope that many of y'all will gather your thoughts and think about how life is impacting you and what you might be trying to do as well. So definitely there are so many great things happening in our community, and I know that y'all are all paying attention. It also looks like it, or sounds like it's definitely some heavy rain that is going on outside, because I am hearing that in my backdrop and everything, and hearing that going on. So definitely we're having some great rainy weather today. And I was actually just thinking about going out and grabbing a bite to eat, but that's not going to be for a couple hours. So hopefully that rain will stop before that time, and I'll actually be able to get out in this lovely weather and not get soaked. Because I'm hearing this rain in the background, and I'm thinking, hey, that's good soaking weather. So I might be right here in the house checking out what's going on until that rain stops and everything along those lines. Just a quick aside and a quick thought based on what I was hearing in my backdrop and what was going on in that regards. I mentioned Sasha's investment show. You know, Sasha also does an amazing chess show. So I'm going to bring up a little bit about that. And then we get ready to get on out of here and wrap up this particular show. And then we're going to go do Mullins and see what's happening in the Mullins world. But right now, let's get ready to check out this show about chess.
Charles Gates here, host of Local Legislator Live at 11, where we air most Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. on both Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We have two purposes at Local Legislator Live at 11. This is a new product that we're putting out, and I want to introduce it to you today. One is to help you become a more concise messenger. What does that mean? That means stop rambling and being able to share your message and share that message with 12 words or less. Number two, be a better deliverer of that message. Deliver with power, deliver with energy, instead of sending people to sleep. If that is you, come see us, reach out to me at letstalk1031@gmail.com. We want to see you. Again, that email is letstalk1031@gmail.com. We've got the answer for you because we want to make you the best you can be. Come see us. Take care.
It is a gem, tucked away near a forest, a place where the lost are found. It is a gift of wholeness for those who are ready to receive it. A secret place where peace can be found in stillness, where you can finally stop fighting to survive and just breathe. Just breathe. Where accountability corrects and the word help is not a cuss word. It is the place that was thought of before you ever thought you needed it. It is where forgiveness starts and healing begins. Well, we are taught that when we put our hands to work, we can create some things. As we uprooted the weeds in the garden, it was a reflection of our lives. As we uprooted disappointment, as we uprooted pain, as we uprooted being traumatized. Because God doesn't deal with the surface. He gets to the root of it. We laughed. We shed tears. We shared our stories. We shared our fears, our dreams, our visions, our heart. We were more than just mothers. We were broken women trying to figure out how to become whole again. It became a place where homelessness became hopeless until we reached the bridge of wholeness.
Labs to Go is your vaccination destination for students, teachers, nurses, or anyone wanting to get first-time, seasonal, and booster immunizations. We also offer titers to ensure you're immune to vaccine. At Labs to Go, there are no doctor orders or insurance needed. We can come to you because we are Labs to Go.
Get your vaccination at our office, or we can come to your business, school, or even go to your home. When you need to know, call Labs to Go.
A very powerful message about Labs to Go, and that other one was about a center that definitely helps women that are going through different kinds of crisis and everything by the name of the Natasha House. So that is definitely a powerful organization doing some great and amazing work as well. Get ready to go on over and switch over to Mullins and Music and Memories. So that'll be the show for this afternoon. And then, of course, you know, we've got the online dinner party where I have to reveal some winners. And y'all are still trying to figure out those contests. And don't forget that we've added a new element to the online dinner party. I want y'all to definitely go back and watch the last episode, and you'll find out that I've been asking people to tell me what they would talk to a historical figure about. So their favorite historical figure and who they wish that they had met, and maybe 2 questions that they would like to ask that historical figure and all of that. And that was just one of the 2 that I had asked. And also talked about the earworms and how we all know those earworms, whether it's the Macarena song or Don't Worry, Be Happy, or a number of others that are more current. So I would like to hear y'all reveal that and share that with me. And you can actually go to the website that I have put out there and everything, and definitely culturalministry.blogspot.com. And you can definitely give me your thoughts as to what that would be. It's actually Cultural Ministry of Durham.blogspot.com and everything. And there is a voice component there, and you can leave a voice message with that message, or you can even give me an email at bluesradio@gmail.com and share your thoughts in that regard. And just send me an MP4 audio track or video, or not even video. MP4 would be video, but an MP3 of your thoughts on those. And of course, we may play them, we may air them in upcoming editions of the online dinner party. So that's some of the things that are going on. Definitely looking forward to getting on out of here, and of course, getting to Mullins and doing that show. And don't forget that this evening at 7, we will have the show with Maxine. I'm sure she'll have some amazing guests as well. So I was glad that Alex was able to join me, and I was able to share some conversation with you this time around. So getting ready to let you check this kid playing a little bit of baseball, because we are getting ready to get into the whole playoff series in that sport. And of course, we are right now in the middle of football, which means that I'm in the middle of my fantasy football and not doing all that well. I'm 1-2, and while I'm ahead right now, he's got an awesome quarterback about to play, and he's also got some other folks about to play. And all I've got, I think he's got 2, and I've got 1. My 1 is my kicker, so I'm not overly optimistic, but who knows? Maybe I'll still fall to win and be able to pull up to 2-2. But let's check out this baseball as well as the airplane to get on out of here. Don't forget, Coco has her amazing show on Wednesday, and that's Wednesday at 6 o'clock, where she always has amazing guests, sometimes from the world of music, sometimes just from other aspects of life as well. But right now, we're getting on out of here. And that's actually not on Wednesday, but actually on, is it Wednesday or Thursday? It's actually Thursday now that I think about it. Her show is actually on Thursday at 6. I was about to give y'all the wrong time and everything along those lines and everything in that regards. But no matter when it is, it's always airing right here on this platform, but it is definitely on Thursday at 6 o'clock that Coco has that particular